Hey, everyone, and welcome back to the Raising Rices podcast. My name is Marissa Rice, and I will be your host today. I am so excited you guys are here. And before we jump into today's topic, I wanted to share something exciting. Over the coming months of this summer, 2026, you are going to start hearing me talk about a new direction and a bigger vision for what's been growing in our hearts for quite some time. Many of you guys have walked alongside our family for years. You've watched our children grow. You have followed our homeschooling journey, our farming journey, our homemaking journey, and all the lessons that God has taught us along the way. But over this last year, especially, I have become increasingly convinced that what I am truly passionate about is not just simply homeschooling or simply homemaking or even simply motherhood individually, but what I care about is helping families build households that serve the Lord. And that vision is what has led us towards a rebrand that will be becoming more and more shared about here throughout the summer. And then this fall, the Raising Rices podcast will become the Heritage Household podcast. And I cannot wait to tell you more about it as we get closer. So alongside that, I am also working on a project right now called the Heritage Household Blueprint. It will be a step-by-step guide to helping families build intentional, Christ-centered homes. You'll hear more about both of those things throughout the summer, but today's episode really serves as a foundation for where we are headed. Because whether we realize it or not, every home is shaping someone. And that is the theme that we're going to be talking about today. Your home is already teaching. Did you know that? One of the biggest misconceptions that many parents have is believing that discipleship only happens during intentional moments. We think discipleship happens only during family devotions or family worship or during prayer or when we have to pull someone aside and have an intense moment of teaching. We think discipleship happens only when our Bibles are open. We think discipleship happens when we sit down to have those conversations, maybe with one or a few kids after an argument. And while all those things certainly matter and discipleship is happening in those moments, discipleship actually, though, in the greater scheme is happening all day long. There's so many minutes, so much time that goes into discipleship that we're not being intentional about. And that's okay. Your home though is teaching every moment of every day. Your children are learning what matters in the large quantity of time. They are learning what's normal. They are learning what receives attention. They are learning what gets celebrated. They are learning what gets ignored. And they are learning how conflict is handled, both by our words and by our actions. They are learning how work is viewed. They are learning how marriages function. And they are learning how Christians respond to stress and disappointment and suffering and success. But long before children understand your theology, they absorb your culture. And every home has a culture, whether you know it or not. The question is not whether your home is shaping your children. The question is how. How is it shaping your children? See, culture happens naturally. The reality is that every family develops a culture. Some cultures are built with intentionality. Others are built accidentally. And if you've ever planted a garden, you already understand that these types of principles. You do not have to be intentional to grow weeds. They just simply appear. Left alone, disorder naturally grows. But a fruitful garden requires planning. It requires cultivation and maintenance and watering and weeding. Homes are much the same way. Without intentionality, most homes drift actually towards chaos. That's probably why we've gotten so many motherhood shirts that say chaos coordinator. Not because parents are bad people and not because they do not love their children, but because culture is always being formed. Something is always growing and developing. The question is whether we are cultivating what is growing, whether we want it to grow or not. So, what are you teaching without realizing it? I think one of the most helpful exercises that parents can do is just to step back and to ask yourself or you and your spouse, what is my home teaching right now? Not what do I hope it is teaching, because that's also an important question. But we need to evaluate, we need to have our eyes open for right now. And we need to ask ourselves, what do we intend to teach? But we need to find that starting place of what is actually being taught right now. If someone lived in your home for 30 days, let's say, what conclusions would they draw after spending time here? Would they conclude that Christ is, in fact, central to your home's atmosphere, to your conversations, to your teaching? Would they conclude that family relationships really do matter in this family and that they prioritize them? Would they conclude that serving others is important for this family? Would they conclude that scripture has the authority and truth in this family? Would they conclude maybe that work or hard work is valuable to this family? Would they conclude that hospitality matters to this family? They might think gratitude is normal, saying please and thank yous are normal in this family. These are important questions because children often learn far more from observation than instruction. And while instruction is still important and should be taught, actually, when we inform or when we teach and instruct our kids, it helps us to put the money where our mouth is, right? To have the walking the walk, not just talking the talk. And many parents spend years trying to teach values that their household culture just quietly undermines. If your household wants to have a family focused, unifying time, but then your schedule reflects everyone's going off in different places by themselves, that's not really walking the walk. You're talking the talk, you're telling us what you want, but you're not living it out. Children notice consistency. They also notice inconsistency. And another element of this is whatever we celebrate, either by our attention or our focus or our words, it does become culture. One of the most powerful ways culture is built is through celebrations. So, like, whatever you celebrate becomes important, whatever receives attention grows. And if achievement receives all the celebration, then children learn that, wait, achievement is the most important. Or if sports receive all the celebration and time and energy and atmosphere, then children learn that sports is the most important. If appearance receives all the celebration, then children learn that appearance is most important. But what happens when we celebrate, let's say, kindness or faithfulness or service, hard work or generosity? What about if we celebrate someone being courageous or obedient? Suddenly, we are teaching something much deeper when we celebrate those character values. The values of a household are revealed by what receives the praise and attention. And that is something that every family can begin to just evaluate, to take off the rose-colored glasses, to look around at their family and really decide, where is my time and energy going? What is receiving the praise or the attention? And then as you discover these things in your family, we need to focus that household culture is built through rhythms. Okay. So most families think culture is built through like these big moments, right? Like, a family vacation or the winning of a game or a breakthrough moment. But culture is usually built actually through just ordinary rhythms. And that's how you can find out what is important to that family culture. Ordinary rhythms like family dinners and bedtime prayers, maybe Saturday chores or Sunday worship at church. maybe reading aloud together, maybe serving together or working together. Maybe it is sharing meals with others in your community, like hospitality, singing hymns, scripture memory. These ordinary practices, they may seem small in the moment or insignificant to the grander things of life, but over years, they actually become the identity of the household. See, the goal is never perfection, but the goal is consistency. Small, faithful habits shape the household over time. And it is really important to have that vision. One thing that I've learned in both homeschooling and homemaking is that it is difficult to build something that you cannot describe. This is one of the reasons that I have become very passionate about helping families develop a vision for their home. Most parents have goals, which is great. That's great. But fewer parents have a clear vision of where they want to go and where they're headed. A goal, see, it might be, I want my children to behave, right? But a vision would be more, I want to raise adults who love God, serve others, and walk faithfully with Christ. The vision actually changes the motivation. Vision influences priorities and schedule and discipline and discipleship. Vision influences how we spend our money and our time. Without vision, we react, but with vision, we lead. One of the things that we are building inside of the Heritage Household rebrand is that we are creating what we're calling the Heritage Household Blueprint. It is a really amazing resource that we're pouring our love and blood, sweat, and tears into. And it is helping families identify exactly what kind of household that they are trying to build and then create practical systems that support that vision. Because vision without action just remains a dream. But vision paired with intentional habits, that becomes a culture. And we want to. Our mission here, and I pray your mission for all of you, would be to build households that serve the Lord. And when I think about our own family mission here in the Rice family, we just always return to Joshua 24:15. As for me and my household, we will serve the Lord. Notice Joshua does not say, just for me, that's my goal for myself. No. He says, as for me and my house, my household. There is a household vision for everyone in it. There is a family identity and a shared direction that is communicated in that verse. And that verse has become increasingly meaningful to me over years because it reminds me that we're not simply raising children. We are building a household that worships together, that serves together, that learns together, that works heartedly unto the Lord together, and ultimately seeks to glorify God in all that we do. So whether you have your children are toddlers or teenagers or somewhere in between, I want to encourage you today that you're not too late and you're not too early. Do not underestimate the influence of your home on your children. Do not underestimate the power of the ordinary faithfulness that you possess. And do not underestimate the value of simple daily rhythms. Your home is shaping someone. It is. Every meal, every conversation, every prayer, and every act of service, every choice is helping form the culture of your home. And that culture is leaving a legacy, whether you're intentional with it or not. So over the next coming weeks, we're going to continue talking about building intentional households, creating family culture, and establishing rhythms that help homes really serve the Lord. And as we get closer to the fall 2026, I will be sharing more and more about the transition to the Heritage Household podcast, as well as the upcoming Heritage Household Blueprint, which I'm just so excited about, you guys. It's just going to come out because it is a very, very helpful resource to so many. And I just want to bless so many families, so many legacies, and the next generation for Christ in this resource. So I truly believe God is doing something new in this season for us, and I'm grateful. I'm so grateful that you guys are here to walk this new season with us, to launch this and get it into the hands of so many. So until next time, do remember our key verse, Joshua 24:15. As for me and my household, we will serve the Lord. Thank you so much for listening, and I can't wait to see you next week.